you're looking for a great EDC knife with an awesome locking mechanism, which is both ambidextrous and easy to actuate, you may have heard of the Kizer clutch lock. It's an axis style locking mechanism which you can use whether you are left or right-handed, all the same, and it is in fact Kizer's variant on the ever popular benchmade axis lock. But this is not the only knife or the only company to copy or mimic Benchmade's axis lock. In fact, we've seen iterations from companies like Three Rivers Manufacturing on the TRM Shadow. The Vosteed Mini Nightshade also has a axis crossbar style lock. And then of course, even on the bestechman Ronin, a knife which I said was the best budget knife of 2022. But something that makes Kizer different than all of these is that the clutch lock is actually an improvement on the existing axis lock design. More to the point, I actually believe that the Kizer Task released at the end of 2023 is actually the best iteration of Kizer's clutch lock. So you might be wondering, if you're not familiar, what makes the clutch lock different than all of those other wannabes and lookalikes that also have a crossbar style lock. The primary answer is that with the clutch lock, you can actually adjust the tension to your liking, and so you can get a stronger detent or a lighter detent depending upon whatever your personal preference is. Now, I also think that the Kizer Task is in fact the best iteration of the Kizer clutch lock that we've seen so far. And some of you may be throwing up your hands in frustration. How can you say that? The Kizer drop bear is obviously the initiator of the clutch lock. The Kizer drop bear is amazing. You can get it in all of these different configurations. Why is the Kizer Task in fact a better buy than the drop bear? For starters, I'm going to tell you right now, the Kizer Task comes in at $82 currently. As of the time of recording, it is $82, and when I did my initial unboxing and first impressions of this knife, which I will link up in the corner, I knew that this was a winner of a knife, and recently I decided to put it to the test. I left on a 7-day vacation where I was on a plane and I had to take a knife with me, and I decided to take the Kizer Task to find out just how good it was in a real world scenario as a dedicated carry. And some things that I figured out right away is that, for one, the blade shape is so much better on the Task than it is on the drop bear. And while you might believe that that is in fact a point of contention and a point of opinion, I actually do believe this, because unlike on the drop bear, which has a standard drop point style blade, this is a modified reverse Tonto, or at least that's how I would define it. So you get a pokey, stabby tip that allows you to cut into things for utility purposes without a high angle on the wrist. Also, the cutting geometry on here is 100% fantastic. Let me show you what I mean. Here's a piece of scrap paper, and it glides through. The blade and edge geometry on the Kizer Task is perfect for everyday carry because it gives you the best of everything. You get a little bit of belly, you get a low angled tip that allows you to get some seriously good utility cuts in while also remaining good looking and easy to actuate. The indexing on here is phenomenal with these micarta scales. And some of you might be saying, well, the Kizer drop bear also has micarta scales. In fact, the Kizer drop bear has this exact same configuration, almost to a T, even on the overall length. For example, on the blade, we have a 3-inch blade on the Task, and on the drop bear, it's a 2.99 inches. So they're very similar. They both have 154 cm blades and micarta handle scales with that clutch lock. However, the Kizer drop bear with this exact same configuration costs almost $27 more, coming in at $109, which I do think is a rather good deal. However, it's not nearly as good as $82. And it's not just Kizer's website where you can buy these for that price. I did in fact see these going for $82 on other knife retail websites. So for your $82, you get a knife that is just about 7¼ inches overall with a 3-inch blade. Really well done micarta handle scales and a reversible pocket clip. Also, aside from that, you have T8 pivot screws and T8 body screws, which is fantastic. Something which is a minor annoyance is that they still have T6 pocket clip screws, but considering that most people are not going to switch the pocket clip around more than maybe once, chances are that's not necessarily a big deal. Also, unlike with the drop bear on the Task, you also get this deployment hole, and that deployment slot is accessible, and that is really nice. You can in fact take the thumb stud off since it is inside that deployment slot. However, I'm not entirely sure why you would need to, because on this model you can see that the thumb stud is actually not in the cutting path of the blade. You could also change where that thumb stud is. You could loosen it and move it to be higher or lower, whatever your preference is, and that fits really well with the clutch lock design, allowing you to change the stiffness of the spring, to change the tension. I find myself really enjoying this knife, and not only is it classy looking and 100% ambidextrous with a really well done blade shape, but it also makes you feel like you can in fact take any task that you need to without issue. The lockup is extremely solid. I'm not feeling any blade play whatsoever, and when you pair that with a very silky smooth action and deployment running on ceramic bearings, you're not going to be disappointed at all with the Kizer Task. For $82, I'm struggling to find a better crossbar lock style variant knife than you can currently get in the Kizer Task. And I'm only waiting for those to figure it out, that the Kizer drop bear, while it is a great knife, it is $27 more expensive than the Kizer Task. Meanwhile, the Kizer Task has a more useful blade shape while giving you everything that you would want out of this scenario. My only disappointment is, unlike the drop bear, we only have the Task in this configuration. Just like with the drop bear, I would love to see more premium versions of this knife. Please Kizer, make this knife with titanium handle scales. Make it with fat carbon fiber, or better yet, camo carbon fiber. I think that that would be absolutely bananas, even if we could get one with some more premium materials, maybe even some Magna Cut, who knows? But the options are limitless on this knife. But even in its current format, 154 cm and micarta handle scales are more than adequate to get the job done. Actuation and indexing is very easy on this knife, and I find myself fidgeting with it even when I don't necessarily intend to. It gets the job done in a very good way, in a very efficient way, and it's also not hard on the eyes. But then again, I guess that's kind of why they decided to call it the Kizer Task. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section down below. Have you considered one of these? Have you been ogling one of these? If you want one, of course, I will make sure to drop my link to this knife in the description down below. Of course, if you decide to use it, yes, that does help, but that is entirely up to you. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section down below. And if you want to watch more awesome knife and EDC content, go ahead and click on one of the videos that pops up next.